right, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I want to thank Commissioner Boyce and Council President Hardin and all of Columbus City Council. I know Councilmember Remy's here and appreciate his leadership. Our great partners in this work, Lilly Cavanaugh and her husband, John, who I just met. So welcome and thank you. Rose Simmons, our Census Bureau liaison. We're thrilled you're here. Stephen Kelly from the Ohio Development Service Agencies. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us this morning to talk about the 2020 census. As you know, the U.S. Constitution requires a census or a count of every person living in the country every 10 years. What you might not know is what role local government has to play in the count, or why it is important to residents on a local level. Today, we're here to answer both questions and to lay out our plan for the Columbus-Franklin County Complete Count Committee. That's a mouthful. The 2020 census is the responsibility of the federal government, but it relies on states, counties, and municipalities like Columbus and Franklin County to ensure each and every resident is counted. And the count presents some challenges. For the first time ever, the Census Bureau is emphasizing that residents respond online to the census, which can be difficult to members of our community with limited access or experience with the internet. So Columbus and Franklin County, we are going to go about doing this work differently this time around. We're experiencing rapid growth with an increased population diversity. Another challenge or opportunity for an accurate count. Today, families live in more informal and mobile living arrangements like short-term leases that present challenges not seen in previous counts. Last summer, my office and representatives from the City Attorney's Office, Franklin County, and City Council formed a working group to plan and prepare for the census. We've identified hard-to-reach communities, including ethnic and racial minorities, senior citizens, young people, individuals experiencing homelessness, and residents who do not speak English as their first language. In a few minutes, City Council President Hardin will detail what the census results mean to the community. Here are a couple of highlights. The number of seats each state gets in the U.S. House of Representatives is determined by population, by the number of people living in the state. And that number is determined by the census. Franklin County is the fastest growing community in the entire state, and we must ensure that growth is accurately counted in the census. And federal monies are appropriated based on the population and count. Commissioner Boyce and I understand that community leaders know their neighborhoods best, and that's why we've agreed to co-chair the Columbus-Franklin County Complete Count Committee. To tell you more about the action plan and all the great work that's taken place thus far and that we have planned for the months and year ahead, it's my honor to introduce my partner and co-chair, Commissioner Kevin Boyce.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Columbus and Franklin County. I'm so honored to be here as we launch what I think one of the most important processes that we can come together as a community to be a part of. Since 1790, the United States of America has conducted a census, but rooted in the idea of counting every person, counting every citizen, is the idea of the economics of it. And as I think about Franklin County, and I think about the role and the job that we do for our citizens here and for our residents here, it's really about that safety net for all of those, some of those who struggle the most amongst all of us, to ensure that they have a chance to be as successful as you and your neighbor. And so the count is a critical part of that, because that's how our Medicaid dollars flow, that's how SNAP dollars flow, that's how temporary assistance for needy family funds flow to Franklin County, to those residents. But beyond that, think of transportation in our public right-of-ways, think of infrastructure and all of the things that allow us to do business as a community, to allow us to commerce and exchange, and to do the things that market this community to make it work for every citizen and every business and every resident. And so the idea for the census is not simply about counting people, but it's about coming together to ensure that we get our fair share. And that's where you come in. That's where every agency you represent, every business that you're a part of, and every community organization that you're a part of will be a part of this community-wide process to ensure that everyone has a voice in this process. I can tell you this, just in Washington, D.C. over the last 6 days, and when you're there, you have the feeling of knowing that what you represent and what you say matters. But it only does if you can illustrate that you have the numbers to pool the resources to take care of the things that you need to. For Franklin County, for example, we just passed Cuyahoga County in the number of residents. So we now exist at just under 1.3 million residents or people who live in Franklin County. And so what that means is we've got to report to the U.S. Census that growth. We have to help them understand our needs in infrastructure. We have to help them understand, and where infrastructure matters the most. I don't know if you've all been on the freeway at 5 o'clock in the afternoon lately, but it's rough. And part of that is rooted in a growing community, a growing Central Ohio. And so we need our federal government to understand that Central Ohio is working to the best we can to ensure that everyone has a place and a voice right here in Franklin County. And so I challenge you. I challenge you to work with us, to engage your various agencies, organizations, businesses, and community to ensure that every single person in this community is a part of this process, that everyone counts. And if you do that, I can promise you this, we'll be represented at the fullest extent in Washington. And that's why this process is so important. In 2010, I served as chairman of the statewide Complete Census Count Committee. And I know the difference it makes when we're out there working together and ensuring that all of those pathways of data and information are working its way to our census folks. I'm so excited to see the team here that's going to be rooted in Central Ohio. But they know, just like I do, it's a team effort. It starts with them, but it ends with all of us. And so with that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Shannon Hardin, the president of Columbus City Council, who I know as well, we're sort of the three-headed monster here. It's a lot of responsibility, but we're up to the task. And so I know Council President Hardin is going to be very much a big advocate. Council President Hardin.
Good morning. Thank you to Mayor and to Commissioner Boyce for their leadership. I also join the Mayor in recognizing my colleague, Emmanuel Remy, and for his leadership. Want to congratulate both the Mayor and Commissioner Boyce and all those folks for the staff work that was put into bringing us all here together. I look around the room and it's not just elected officials, but it is the real diversity of Columbus. We see the private sector represented by Mr. Alex Fisher. We see our new superintendent of Columbus City Schools, Dr. Dixon. We see Michelle Heritage with the shelter board. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us working together to make sure that all of us are counted. As the mayor was saying, it is not only important to get a count, but it's important to get an accurate count of who we are here in Columbus, in our region. Responding to the census ensures that our community gets our fair share of funding. Nearly $700 billion in federal funding is distributed to states and communities each year and is divided up based on this count, accurate or not. That's why it's critical for the census to capture the full diversity of Columbus. It's our diversity that makes Columbus a great city. Walking the aisles of Saraga International Market on Morris Road, smelling the dumplings, if you haven't been up there, you can see folks from all around the world who now call our city home. While we're one Columbus, we must recognize the diversity of our different neighborhoods and cultures to ensure our community can access the federal funds to create jobs, provide housing, prepare for emergencies, and build schools, roads, and hospitals that we all need and that we all count on. And it's worth noting that in the past, not everyone has been counted. And folks that study history know for the first census in 1790, all residents were broken down to 5 categories: free white males over the age of 16, free white males under the age of 16, free white males, females, and all other free persons. Knowing that folks weren't truly counted in the past and diversity wasn't valued, it's even more important that Columbus and our region gets the federal dollars we deserve by counting everyone. In order to bring jobs, services, and ensure our voice is heard in Congress, we must have an accurate count. And so council will stand shoulder to shoulder with the commissioners, with the mayor, with each and every one of you community partners to make sure that we are counted and that we are represented in DC. It is now my honor to bring up Ms. Lilly Cavanaugh, Executive Director of Latino Affairs Commission, to speak about her role and her partnership in making sure everyone is counted.
Buenos dias. My name is Lilly Cavanaugh, and I am the Executive Director of the Ohio Latino Affairs Commission. We're the state agency mandated to advise the governor and the legislature on issues impacting Latinos, to connect Latino and Latino-serving organizations, and to ensure that we build the capacity and leadership of this community. But I'm also here as one of those many that has had a dream and made America home. Actually, I was born in San Jose, Costa Rica, many years ago, but yet I made Columbus my home. This is the place where my children grew up, they went to school, and now they raise their own families. This is a welcoming place that many of us, new Americans and people who had that big dream, call home. It is the place we've chosen to raise our families because we believe in the principles of family and community and togetherness that bring us all together into one. And it's been about 25 years of my work here in Ohio serving the Hispanic community. Latinos are part of every part of the fabric of the community, wherever you happen to be, for every profession that you see out there. We're a very close community. In fact, very soon Latinos in Ohio will hit that 500,000 mark. 500,000 Latinos are around our state. If we were to put all of our Latinos together in one city, we will be bigger than Cleveland. The only city that would surpass us will be Columbus. So that paints an image to you as to why thinking and including new Americans, Latinos, Africans, and all of those others that are here is so critical to our growth and to our future. But often, the Latino community and all these new American communities are low-key and very much underrepresented. We have heard this morning how critical and important it is for every person to be counted, but also for us to empower our new Americans so they can stand up and understand the impact that it will have for years to come, whether they are counted or not. And that responsibility, my friends, does not lay on their shoulders. It lays on our shoulders as a community. It's very important for us to understand this because, like me, many people long to come to America. But once you get here, who teaches you to become a real American? And one way of expressing that understanding is by taking the responsibility and our civic duty as citizens to do this very important task that is asked of us as citizens of this wonderful country, and that is to make sure that we are counted. So to all of you who represent the minorities, the African immigrants, the Latinos, the Asian and Pacific Islanders, the migrants, the immigrants, the labor force in our fields, I say to you, let's make sure we are counted because we count. Not only that, I'm also very impressed by the work that our city is doing on behalf of all of us and how hard they're working to make sure we are included. And I am very grateful to our Mayor Ginther, Commissioner Boyce, and City Council for this commitment that is real. And if you don't believe me, look around the room and see the faces you see. I've worked in the 2010 census and other censuses, and I can tell you this room looks very different to what I have experienced in the past. And that fills my heart with pride. The other thing that brings me great pride is to let you know that the City of Columbus and our Mayor Ginther are actually going to be hosting a national important event. And this is going to be the National Association of Latino Elected Officials will be hosting the Midwest Region hearing for the National Latino Commission on the Census 2020. Columbus, Ohio will be representing the Midwest and hosting this very critical conversation that will be compiled in a report after visiting and working with people and having hearings all across the country, so that this report is presented to the highest places in our government. That is how we make a difference. And to close in, I want to say something that is going to make you practice your Spanish. But this is something that I really mean it with all my heart, because this is so important to all of us. And that is, cuenta conmigo. Count with me. Not only it means count with me and know that me, Lilly, and all of our friends in the New American community are going to support this effort, but your challenge today is for you to count with me so that we make sure no one is left uncounted. It is our duty, and truthfully, it is our privilege. All of you stand on the shoulders of champions who made that sacrifice to make the United States of America their home. Make it worth it.
So before we wrap up this morning, and we'll obviously stick around for questions and further conversations, we talked a little bit about the Complete Count Committee, but it's important for us to recognize the folks that are really championing and leading this work. The Complete Count Committee is made up of subcommittees reflecting important communities and groups that will lead our community's census preparations. The subcommittee chairs are trusted voices in their respective communities who will be able to effectively communicate to their communities and about the importance of responding to the 2020 census. Subcommittees will also receive training from the Census Bureau and work closely with the city and county staff to engage our community. So I want to recognize all of the folks that serve on our subcommittees for the Complete Count Committee. If you could please stand and introduce yourself, your organization, or any affiliations you have. Wonderful. We'll go around the room, and if you could just introduce yourself and your organization, please. We'll start with Lilly.
Latino Affairs Commission, and I will be working with the Latino Outreach.
Michelle Heritage, Community Shelter Board. I'll be making sure that those experiencing homelessness are counted.
Sean Doctor of the Asian American Commerce Group. I'm reaching out to the Asian American community.
Jed Morrison with the Board of Developmental Disabilities and supporting folks who have disabilities.
I'm Cindy Farson with the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging.
Kimber Perfect, Deputy Chief of Staff for Mayor Ginther, co-chairing communications along with Tyler Lowry for Franklin County.
Wonderful.
I'm Sarika Cradle with the Civil Service Commission for Restoration Academy. I am co-chairing for the Justice Involved Individual.
Kirsten Palmore, the Office of Justice Policy and Programs for Franklin County, and the Reentry Advisory Board. I will be co-chairing with Tarika on the Justice Involved residents.
Wonderful.
I'm Randy Slaughter. I'm standing in for Nana Watson, who unfortunately is not well, but I represent the oldest and boldest civil rights organization, the Columbus NAACP.
I'm Bethany Hahn with CMHA. I stand in for Mr. Hillman. We will be ensuring that all of our residents are counted.
I'm Angie Plummer with Chris, Community Refugee and Immigration Services on the Refugee Subcommittee.
Nadia Kasrin, us together making sure that those who came as refugees and immigrants are counted.
Sharia Hami, City of Columbus Department of Technology, I chair Data Analytics Engineers.
Mark Fluharty, Executive Director of the Central Ohio Labor Council, and I'll be making sure that labor is doing their job.
Elizabeth Martinez, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, working to ensure that the Latino voice is represented.
Aaron Schill with the Ohio Regional Planning Commission. I'll be chairing the local government subcommittee, making sure all our other local governments are represented.
Katie Shanahan with Equitas Health, will be serving on the LGBTQ subcommittee.
Penny Perry Ballinier, Chief of Corrections with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office.
I'm Ibrahim Masoud with the Ohio Immigrant Commission, standing in for Chairwoman Rosario Petty.
Jane Leach, Future Ready Columbus. I'm going to make sure the young children are included in our attention.
I'm Talisa Dixon, Superintendent of Columbus City Schools, and I want to make sure that our families are represented.
Alex Fisher with the Columbus Partnership, working to ensure that our employers and business communities are engaging to make sure we're all involved.
Agent Casey, Stonewall Columbus, working to ensure that the LGBTQIA+ community is counted.
This is so inspiring.
That's great.
Bring it home. Lisa Cordes, President and CEO of United Way of Central Ohio, helping to make certain that those people who are hard to reach and underserved are counted.
And I think we might have, Tyler, did we miss you? Anybody else in the back? Tyler, introduce yourself.
I'm good. I'm Tyler Roberts, Board of Commissioners, Co-Chair of Communications.
Oh, this is, to Lisa's point, this is why I wanted to have everybody stand and share the work that they're doing, because these women and men are really going to be engaged in some of the most important work of this community over the next year or so, making sure that we send a message to Washington that we are counted and that we are heard. Thank you all for joining us today, and look forward to working together to make sure that everyone in this community is counted. Thank you.